This is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today I'm here with Brad Zapp of Connetic Ventures. Brad, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Great. Can you tell us how you got into the venture capital game?
Yeah, so, there's lots of little nuances and doors shutting and doors opening that led to this moment, but probably one of the more important and funnier ones was I was managing partner of a federally registered investment advisory practice for about a decade. And we're in northern Kentucky, which is right across the river from Cincinnati. And I will tell you, it's an extremely sleepy town. Nothing interesting happens. But my dad, who is president of a $2 billion bank, he says, I want you to meet these two guys. They have a neat idea. So it was a Friday afternoon, and literally I was getting ready to go out the door on a vacation. These two guys walk into my office, and they pitch what was called the big idea. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to start 50 brand new companies, technology companies from the ground up in northern Kentucky, and they called it an accelerator. And this is back in 2011, and I had never heard of anything like this. And so I sort of needed to digest that. I get on the plane. I call my dad. I said, Dad, these two guys, they either just presented me with the greatest opportunity. They wanted me to be the fund manager, or they're complete lunatics. And my dad says, son, I think this is something you should do. So fast forward to today, 7 years later, I did go on to become Fund 1 manager of the Uptech Accelerator in Northern Kentucky. And about 6 years after, I launched Connetic Ventures.
Well, that sounds great. So you have a venture group there. Tell us what do you guys invest in and what do you look for at this point as far as funding deals?
Yeah, so we launched Connetic Fund 1 in 2015. So we are still in our first fund. We're still in the investment cycle. And the only thing that we invest in currently is technology. So wouldn't do pharmaceuticals. We would do a lot of software, some medical device, no real estate, no food and beverage, but we're very heavy into software. And it doesn't matter for us if it's consumer facing or business facing. It can be blue ocean opportunities that are very disruptive. But at the same time, in the Midwest, one category that we find super interesting is applying software to displace current market leaders in really boring old industries.
Sounds great. Now, you also have angel groups there in your area. I'm a little bit familiar with them, but maybe you can run them down and tell us a little bit about each of those groups that are there on the angel side and how they invest.
Yeah, so one of the things about our region that I think is really cool, if you look at a map of Cincinnati, and we are located, one of our offices in Covington, Kentucky, which is a sister city just across the river to Cincinnati. We have the Queen City Angels, which is our region's oldest, probably most respected angel group. Then we launched in the Northern Kentucky side, the Connetic Angels. If you drive straight down about an hour to Lexington, Kentucky, you have the Bluegrass Angels. And then if you drive 45 minutes west to Louisville, Kentucky, you have the Enterprise Angels. So that area sometimes is called the Golden Triangle. And I would tell you that the leadership from each group know each other very well. They're non-competitive. They like different things. But for me personally, joining all three angel groups plus launching the fourth, Connetic Angels, it's just been a great opportunity for me to learn the little nuances in different ways, both from a structure standpoint and a diligence standpoint that the different angel groups operate in.
And what do they invest in? Is it only local deals or deals across the country? Are there certain sectors that get more interest from the angels in that area?
So when you have angel groups, it is no doubt that there is heavy influence and this desire to invest local. And what's local mean? I mean, for the Cincinnati Angels, somewhere in the state of Ohio would be something. And for the Lexington Angels, somewhere in Kentucky would be something. But individual angels, they don't have a mandate per se. So oftentimes, if there is a deal particularly championed from another angel group that they know outside of the region, so if someone from Indianapolis or Chicago that through the Angel Capital Association had a relationship with the Bluegrass Angels or Queen City Angels, they're certainly going to get their opportunity. But there's with any Angels, they do care about community. It's a part of who they are. And there's definitely a tilt to invest local.
Well, that sounds great. Now, you're in the Midwest, and it seems like more and more venture capital is coming to the Midwest. And what do you feel is the opportunity and the challenge of investing venture deals in the Midwest area, not the West Coast or East Coast? But what do you see there?
Yeah, so this is probably my favorite topic. It's one that we talk about internally at Connetic Ventures quite a bit. I do think the Midwest, or if I was to broaden that a bit, let's just call it all of flyover country. And that's basically any town that doesn't touch salt water. There are great opportunities that are starting to bud up everywhere. There's new angel groups, there's new funds, micro funds, angel funds, even venture capital funds that are spreading. There are exits that are happening. So I think there's great opportunities. I think valuations are really fair from an investor side. Some of the challenges is, I'll just speak for me personally, is when you compare investing in the Midwest to some of the investing in the coast, what it feels like to me is this, I get this split personality. I think, should I really look at these disruptors, these really huge blue ocean, these solving big problems, 10x type thinking? Can we do that? Can we find that in the Midwest and really drive, portfolio returns? Or Midwest, we're known to be a little more conservative, a little more safe. We always say we're 10 years behind the different coast, and maybe there's an opportunity to invest in more revenue tilted companies that could use some new software and technology to displace the incumbents that are using legacy softwares. I don't have the solutions, but those are the things that we do enjoy talking about.
You see a lot of investors from the West Coast, East Coast in there looking at deal flow and due diligence, or is it really just those in the Midwest are doing this right now?
I don't see a lot of coastal VCs. There are some investors that are originally from here. They went to East or the West Coast. They worked for a VC. And so I think they have this awareness of the Midwest, and they've come back to start different funds. Mark Kwame up at Drive Capital in Columbus, I think, is a really one good example of this. There's more that are happening, and I expect more will come. So it's kind of like the people that have an awareness of it, I see them coming back in the short run, but no, we don't see a lot of the coast here. And if any company in the Midwest, I believe, wanted to get funding from the coast, I think currently they'd have to go there.
And what do you find about angel investors? How is it growing? Or more people becoming angels, and the angel groups are growing and they're picking up more members and investing more deals? Or what are you seeing there?
Yeah, the numbers are definitely growing. I think if you look at any of these city throughout the flyover countries, Kansas City, Columbus, Cincinnati, Lexington, Nashville, Baltimore, all these second tier type of cities compared to the coast, certainly the angel investment is growing, the number of angels. And I think that's correlated with just education and overall awareness as different cities pop up ecosystems in different ways. But there's like this tidal wave that I feel is splashing from the east and the west, and it's just sprinkling all throughout the Midwest. And to be frank, I've never felt more energy in any type of investing activity. And I've been investing my whole life, but buying the Fidelity Magellan Fund in your 401k is not nearly as fun at a cocktail party as saying, I bought XYZ software and let me show you what it can do.
What are you finding there as far as results so far? Putting the money out is the easy part. Getting it back in the form of a return is the challenge. What are you guys finding so far?
So, there's challenges, but I think the number one challenge is patience. So a mistake that I think some early angels make is they perhaps don't have a concept of what's available, what all the deal flow is, and they only get pitched sort of what comes across their plate. And so they don't have a great comparison tool to say, oh, well, that's an amazing deal. But they've not really seen all the competition. I think the other mistake is they don't diversify their portfolios very well. Maybe they had a good year and they got a couple extra $100,000. And yes, angel investing is becoming a thing. They got a buddy that did it, and boom, they throw $100,000 in one deal. So I think that's where a fund as an anchor to your angel investing can provide a huge safety net, because we see hundreds of deals per month, thousands of deals per year. And so there's a lot of vetting and sifting and diversification that can come from that. And if you're an angel that's a part of a fund, pick a fund, any fund, you'll still have the opportunity in the Midwest, because we're short of capital, to take that rifle approach. And if you find one deal that comes from a fund you're in that you like, you can take that shot in a more safer environment.
And on the angel side, do they do a lot of syndication? In other parts, you'll see an entrepreneur go from group to group, picking up funding from a little bit from here, a little bit from there. And of course, as you get more, it snowballs. Do you see a lot of syndication going on in the angel groups in your area?
I do now. No way did that exist 4 years ago. But the reason it's not like they didn't want to, it's just so new. So everybody was in their own little world. And even let's just take Cincinnati, Ohio to Lexington, Kentucky, literally 90 minutes. There's just wasn't sort of a open lines of communication. I don't think in the Midwest, things like the ACA was as big, but the world has changed so much. And I do see tons of syndication. I can speak from experience. I think starting the Connetic Angels and the Connetic Venture Fund 1 mile away from the Queen City Angels, and then me joining the Queen City Angels, we syndicate all the time, like every single month. And that's just been terrific for our startup ecosystem.
When you start looking beyond your area there in Cincinnati and northern Kentucky, where's the next group of angels that you connect with?
Well, I would say from an angel standpoint, the Queen City Angels, we probably do the best job of angel syndications. And there's some groups up in Columbus and Cleveland moving up the Ohio corridor would be the largest connection. From a fund standpoint, I can tell you at Connetic that we spend most of our time in Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta syndicating deals with several funds in each of those cities.
So you have good relationships with those cities and those angel networks, which are, I think, have been around a little bit longer than others for sure.
Yes, they absolutely have. And so the way we broke into those networks, literally, and one of the things that was unique about Connetic was we have no state money. Ours is all private capital, which means we're not restrained by borders, rivers, and rivalries. So we basically, planes, trains, and automobiles, went into these different communities. Most of the communities have this real community, man, we'd like to keep our companies here. We went to the different angel groups and venture funds, and we said, hey, look, we're just a syndicate fund. We're not going to lead deals. We try to democratize capital a little bit. We're the cherry on the top. Please keep us in mind when you need some money for one of your deals. And that's what we did.
That's great. Well, it sounds like it's a very bright future there in the Midwest, the investing that you're doing. In the last couple of minutes that we have here, what are the topics should we cover that we haven't so far?
Well, one of the other topics that we talk about internally, my co-founder and I have money management, portfolio management, and data backgrounds. And what's interesting when you think about the Midwest, or you think about venture capital investing, it's like the Wild West. And it's very gut-based and very intuition and very guerrilla warfare, hand-to-hand combat. But what we think is going to change, just like we saw in the capital markets and the hedge fund world, we believe that using data and machine learning to create quantitative models for better decision-making, we believe that's the future. So it's certainly not like that today in venture. We certainly haven't completely cracked the code, but we think it's a super cool topic to think about.
It seems that data analytics comes more and more to the venture world where people are using more data analytic tools, and you have heard different takes on it. There's metrics-driven, data-informed, and so forth. How do you see data analytics playing into the investment decision process? How far can you go with it?
I don't know the whole answer on how far you can go with it, but I do know the first step is to gather the data. So at least you have it available to sift through a library of historical information to try to get better, make smarter decisions in the future. I think we can go pretty far with it. And one of the steps that I think is really important is at least sort of applying the same metrics or the same decision-making steps to your investment process. Whereas when I was an early angel, I have to admit, myself and those around me, we weren't even asking each company the same set of questions. So that's probably not a way to build a wonderful portfolio. So again, using data, KPIs, different metrics, I think is the first step. I don't know how far we can take it, but I can tell you at Connetic, we're going to try to take it all the way.
Well, that's great. Well, I appreciate you sharing this information. What's the best way for the audience to get back in touch with you?
I'm excellent at email. So anyone, feel free to email me. It's Zapp, Z-A-P-P, at Connetic.Ventures.
Great. Well, we'll put that in the show notes as well so people can see that and get back in touch with you if they have further questions. And I want to thank you for taking time and hope to have you back for a follow-up to dive deeper in these discussions about data analytics, Midwest investing, and the formation of angel groups there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.